It's another day, left jab, right jab, this is MMA. Mixed martial arts, quick body parts, undefeated when I pick 'em. Who the champ, who the victim, looking in my crystal ball, I predict the winner. Never stop fighting, if you lose, keep your chin up. Know how the game go, I'm a smart fella. Welcome to the show, this the MMA fortune teller.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.
What's up, boys? UFC 258. It's a late night breakdown session here. I appreciate you guys joining me. We got an awesome card to talk about. Of course, in the main event, we got Kamaru Usman taking on Gilbert Burns, which is a fight that a lot of us have been waiting for some time now, ever since Gilbert Burns went on an absolute tear during the year of 2020 during COVID, just going out there taking legends out, and he obviously he really took advantage of the situation, I'll say, and was stepping in there fighting everybody, and now he gets his big shot at Kamaru Usman, so it all paid off. I like the co-main event. I like how they threw Maycee Barber and Alexa Grasso in the co-main event spot. I like both those female fighters. They bring the fight, and I think they're deserving of a spot like that. Gastelum's on the card. We got Ewell, home team MMA live discussion guy there. Polyana, Viana. We got some nice fights, top to bottom. We got legends fighting in the second bout of the card. Legend and Jim Miller. Bobby Green, somewhat of a legend in his own right as well. So the card's good, and we'll be getting to that in a second. I do want to recap Fight Night Overeem versus Volkov. It wasn't a good night for me betting-wise. As far as overall picks throughout the card, I did quite good. Picked some dogs and whatnot, but as far as betting, wasn't the best. And we'll slide through this real quick. Odie Osborne, for those of you guys that checked out the updated prediction video, I broke down this fight for you guys. I told you Odie was going to be too explosive and too much for Jerome. He came through. Tamar Valiv, I had him mixed in a parlay there. Came through for me with Martin Day. The other leg did lose. But Timur Valiv, I was licking my chops in this fight here against Martin Day, and it played out exactly like I thought it was. Just dominated Martin Day with the grappling and the pace. This was where my night didn't start off that well. Yusuf Zalal was a guy I'm very high on. I thought he would have went in there and really took care of business against Choi, and that was not the case. He looked very flat out there. I know he took the fight on a limited amount of notice, but still, I mean, he didn't even look remotely like the fighter that I've seen him, or how I've seen him perform inside the octagon, and I haven't been high on Choi, so dropped the ball there. Lara Procopio came through, tough chick. A lot of people were talking about her being a dog. I didn't touch that. Carol Rosa showed up. Devontae Smith looked good, man. He looked good. Danilo Marquez upset at Mike Rodriguez. I was very surprised to see that. I had Mike Rodriguez also, in that parlay, like I talked about with Timur. So, I was very surprised to see Mike Rodriguez not be able to use any of his stand-up, not be able to throw any power shots against a guy in Danilo Marquez that really started to gas out in the later rounds in his first fight. I wasn't impressed with him. And, Mike Rodriguez is on a 2-fight losing skid now after that Ed Herman situation, and that was not a good performance. But Neil Dariush looked absolutely amazing. What a performance by him. I want to see him get a big-name fight coming up next. He's a legend, this guy. Or I shouldn't say legend. I'm throwing legend around too much. He's a very quality guy in the UFC right now. That's really been putting on one amazing performance after another. So shout out to Dariush. Pantoja came through. Clay Guida, how about Clay Guida? I picked him. A lot of you guys are making fun of me on Instagram at the fact that I picked Clay Guida. I should have made an official play. I did slip there. I should have made that an official play. We know Michael Johnson tends to drop the ball, and Guida, he's still showing up. Sandhagen with the flying knee on Frankie Edgar. Oh, one of the nastiest knockouts I've ever seen. And it was kind of tough to see Frankie go out like that. I don't know if he's going to fight again. Do you guys want to see Frankie fight again? Comment below. I'm curious what you guys think about that. I don't want to see him go in there and get knocked out again. And quite honestly, I think that's going to happen against any of the guys in the top 10. Of course, Frankie still has the skills to bring it. He has the potential to take a lot of those guys out, but there's big potential for him getting put to sleep again. He's been getting rocked a lot now. He's up there in age. I don't know. That's a tough one because, you want to go out in a W too. Maybe they give him a kind of a layup there. Frankie's a legend and nothing but respect to him. Alexander Volkov. Wow, Alexander Volkov showed up, man. He looked amazing against Alistair Overeem. He put on a lot of weight, man. He's looking big in there. And you know what? I want to see him fight. I want to see him fight the freak man, Francis Ngannou, who was just on Joe Rogan. Excellent show. I highly recommend you guys check that out. Nice podcast there. And but imagine Ngannou and Volkov. That's the matchup that I really want to see. Volkov looked amazing on the feet. Was so relaxed in there. You see how professional this guy is. With now over 40 professional fights. Shout out to Volkov. Just we didn't get to see his ground game or his takedown defense tested like we did against Curtis Blades, but he'll have his chance to show that eventually when he fights some of these top guys. But yeah, man, so what wasn't the greatest card for me over here, but it's all good. We brush it off and we move into the next card. And I think this card right here is really going to be a good one. I think there's some great spots. And with no further ado, let's get right into the card. Oh, and I will say this too. Shout out to everybody that caught me over on Sports Betting Weekly, my other YouTube channel that I have. I'll put the link here again for those of you guys that are interested. But I told you guys I was going to give you guys a free play. I uploaded that video there for the Super Bowl for you. And I told you guys about that prop bet, plus 175, Leonard Fournette to be the leading rusher of the Super Bowl. And how about Tom Brady? I got to talk about Tom Brady for 1 second here. That guy's the GOAT. I think that guy is the GOAT of all sports, period. I put Jordan right under him. And then I got Khabib right up there in the mix too. Maybe I got Khabib at 3, depending on where you want to put Wayne Gretzky and all that. But that's a whole nother conversation. But shout out to Tom Brady and the Bucks. And again, check out that other channel because I'm going to periodically put out free plays on other sports if you guys watch other sports. So just putting that out there for you guys. And yeah, now let's get into the first fight of the evening. We got Dhiego Lima taking on Belal Muhammad. A great fight right here to start the card off. Dhiego Lima, Ultimate Fighter, alumni, a guy that is the brother of one of the best welterweight fighters in the world. Of course, you guys know Douglas Lima over in Bellator. Lima is a guy that's really been going in there and handling business as of recently on the 3-fight winning streak. I like Lima's stand-up. Remember him on The Ultimate Fighter. He was able to showcase some of his stand-up skills. He's very, very calm, very comfortable on the feet. 31 years old, so he's right there at his prime right now. So this is a guy we want to keep an eye on here. And, he has a big, big test in front of him in Belal Muhammad. I really believe Belal Muhammad is a very well-rounded fighter and pushes the pace like no other. In his own right with his striking, he almost has I don't know if this makes sense, but almost a Khabib type style with his striking compared to how Khabib is with his grappling, with the relentlessness. Belal Muhammad will chase you down and he'll try to cut the cage off and he'll throw on you, man. He'll mix the kicks in, he'll throw hooks. Of course, Rufus Sport, one of the top camps. Love Duke Rufus over there, one of the best striking coaches in the game. Muhammad is a stud. As of recently, he took out Layman Good. Layman Good is a very good fighter. And Layman Good is a guy that's been around the block for a long time, that's been putting it together. And that was a big win. That was a very tough fight. Took out Takashi Sato with the rear naked choke. So like I said, very well-rounded. You can mix in the grappling and whatnot. Dhiego Lima in this fight is going to have a big reach advantage here, a 6-inch reach advantage. So, if Lima is able to keep this fight on the feet, he's able to show some of the striking skills that I talked about. I would say that the line is somewhat valuable here. That's how I'm looking at this fight. Belal Muhammad at in the minus 400 range right now. I think that is quite a steep line if you ask me. If you're asking me who I'm picking to win the fight straight up, yeah, I'm gonna go with Belal Muhammad. Like I said, very well rounded, very very talented. And this guy gives you a run for your money. You put money on him, this guy's showing up. This guy ain't going to sit there and get squeaked out on a decision because he's not active in there. This guy is going to be very active, and he's quite the character as well, man. This guy, with the photo edits. And if you guys remember during the start of the pandemic, he had a little show he was doing on Instagram, giving money out. He's a funny dude, this guy. And he's a good fighter, like I said. And that's why straight up I got to go with Muhammad. But as far as a line goes, again, check out his brother over here. I mean, his brother's a stud. I know he's not his brother, but he possesses a lot of those skills as well. And had the pleasure to watch him fight live. not too long ago, and that was against who was that against? That was against Court McGee, where he was the first fight of the night. He took out Court McGee in a split decision, a close matchup there. So yeah, this is an interesting fight. Great way to start the card off. In the next match, we got Bobby King Green taking on Jimbo Miller, the legend Jim Miller. I'm a big fan of Jim's. Been watching him for a long time. You know, I've seen this guy basically set up shop in the UFC's top 10, for a long time. Jim Miller has great jiu-jitsu. He'll go in there. He subbed guys like Charles Oliveira. If you guys remember that, I believe he pulled off. What did he catch him with? I think he grabbed his leg and he snatched something up. I gotta pull that up for you guys. I was gonna say a calf slicer, but I think that was Oliveira who pulled the calf slicer on somebody else. Took out Charles Oliveira with the rear naked choke. Man, that's impressive. Okay, I know Charles has grown a lot since then, but Jim Miller, has the southpaw stance. He's very competent on the feet as well. Coming into this fight, they have an equal reach advantage. So even though I was kind of thinking Bobby Green might be kind of long in there, he has that relaxed striking style. He ends up putting himself in fights that are a lot closer half the time based on the style, if you ask me. Even the Guida fight, that last Guida fight that he won, that fight played out closer than it probably should have. Even though Guida's shown he's still hanging around, but coming off a loss in his last fight, in a fight that he thought that he won. They get taken down a little bit and whatnot too. I think Jim Miller has the potential to take Bobby Green out here as a 2-1 dog. I mean, you're talking about a guy in Thiego Moises, who a little bit more, a little bit younger and more in his prime, but Thiego Moises went in there. He was able to mix in some takedowns, use the jiu-jitsu at times to eke out a decision. I think that Jim Miller can easily still do that at 37 years old. Bobby Green's 34. I'm gonna go with the legend in Jim Miller here. You can get him at plus 205, right around that range. Some potential value there. But, Jim Miller, I'm a giant fan of the guys. And this is a close match. I could easily see Bobby Green showing up, stuffing the takedowns or bouncing back up if his butt touches the mat and being able to outstrike Jim Miller, maybe hurt Miller. But I'm going to go with my boy Jim Miller. And if you guys follow him on Instagram, man, he's a great follow, this guy, man. He's working on the house. He's got the whole farm there. He's chasing rats and crap out of the bathrooms and stuff. This guy's wild and has a hell of a family going on. Shout out to the Miller brothers, Dan Miller as well. And there's Bobby throwing down with Clay Guida. How about Clay Guida showed up and took Michael Johnson out, man? Huh? Brought the fight. Still up in his 40s. Reminds me of another guy in his 40s still doing work. Thomas Brady. All right, how about this one? My boy here, huh? You guys know I love me some Kelleher. Obviously, a lot of you guys know the deal. That whole little inside joke that we had back in the day with Kelleher. But Kelleher is a guy that I think has one of the best guillotines in the game. I do believe that. I think that Kelleher. Excuse me here. I think Kelleher is a guy that, if you stick your head in there, he could snatch it up on anybody, including Ricky Simón, who is a guy that really pushes the pace with his grappling, and he's not scared to stick his head in there. I truly believe that, man. He'll be trying to rip Kelleher down in this fight. He'll be trying to do what he's been doing to a lot of the guys he's just been fighting, and that's going in there and manhandle them. I'm really high on Ricky Simón. He's going to be coming into this fight with a good reach as well. About a 6-inch reach advantage. I like Ricky Simón's boxing. It is crisp. Does let his fights play out closely at time on the feet. He'll eat a shot or two. He's tough. He'll hang in there. If you think about that Ray Borg fight, that fight played out a little bit closer than it probably needed to. But he was ragdolling him in there. Don't forget that. Went in there, made easy work of Perello with the arm triangle choke in his last bout. And then you got Kelleher, who submitted Ray Rodriguez with the guillotine. That guy was taking that fight an hour's notice, I believe. Lost to Stamen. We made some money in a parlay there. But Kelleher does show up. I do believe he does show up. And the line may be a little bit too steep for me, but I think Simón comes through. And I think Simón handles business here. I think he'll be stronger in the clinch and the wrestling positions. I think he avoids the sub. And I think he'll actually even win the striking exchanges too. Not by a big disparity, but I think he'll be better on the feet as well. And that's why you're seeing a line right around minus 250, 260, which is decently steep. All right. But yeah, I'm going to go with Simón. You guys know that. I ain't picking Kelleher. Gillian Robertson taking on Miranda Maverick. This is a good fight here. Gillian Robertson, I really like the skills that she brings inside the cage. Great grappling. Great submission skills. She's been working with the American Top Team for years. I believe she's up north now, a little bit more north of American Top Team. I think up in Jupiter or somewhere out there, Port St. Lucie. But 25 years old. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that Maverick's also 23. But there's a lot of young talent coming up right now throughout the ranks in these women's divisions. So. And it is Port St. Lucie, it says there, yeah. But only 25 years old. She's been getting groomed by some of the greatest coaches in the game, and she can go in there. She can maul you. She can take these girls down. She could use her jiu-jitsu to really maul them, pull off subs on them. We've seen that all before. But Miranda Maverick, on the other hand, is a girl that I've been very high on her. You saw her in her last fight against Liana Jojua. She looked very good, got the finish. Pearl Gonzalez, an ex-UFC alumni. I'm sure a lot of you guys know who she is. Took her out. She's a tough customer. Deanna Bennett. These are girls' names. Shayna Young. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with all these girls. Victoria Leonardo. I'm not sure who she is, but Miranda Maverick's been going in there. She's been handling business, coming in with a 2-inch reach advantage. Maverick is scrappy. She's a scrappy chick. And, I like what she brings to the table on the feet as well. I think she can avoid this submission here from Gillian Robertson. I think she possibly could. And if she does that, then I have her winning this fight. If Robertson can pull off that sub, or maybe also even and make this into like a grueling match where she can get some takedowns involved and whatnot and kind of shine with her grappling one way or another, even if she doesn't get the finish, that would be her route in my opinion. But I'm edging Miranda Maverick here. I'm taking Maverick. Like I said, her overall game, I think that she's just a little bit better on the feet, and she's tough, man. And there's Jill. Chilling with our girl, Hannah Goldie. You guys remember Goldie? We had her on the show. And I'm going to take Miranda Maverick. And this line, I don't believe it's a crazy line. I think Maverick was like 150 last time I looked. Here it is. A minus 140, minus 145. A little bit of action coming in on Gillian. So, yeah, people know Gillian can fight. But, I got to go with Maverick. All right. Rodolfo Vieira taking on Anthony Hernandez. Rodolfo Vieira, this is the guy. He's one of the one of the most, I shouldn't even say more. He's one of the most decorated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys that has came over to the UFC, to mixed martial arts. And he's shown that he's he's not just a flashy jiu-jitsu guy that's pulling off tricky subs, this and that. I mean, this guy is a beast of a man. He really is. This guy is a Hulk in there, and he has very nice takedowns. I mean, he will rip you down to the mat where he can start to implement his ground game. 31 years old. He's undefeated, 7-0. Coming off that victory against Safarov, where he eventually did get the submission there. Took out Oscar Pichota as well. Really mauled Pichota there. Got the sub again. So that's 2 submissions there. 2 arm triangle submissions at that in the UFC since joining the UFC. Anthony Hernandez. Okay, Anthony Hernandez is a guy. Remember him from the Dana White's Contender Series show. He showed up, got the knockout. This is a guy I've been very high on. This is a guy that I've had official plays locked in on. He's came through for me. Maybe those fights played out a little bit closer than I thought they should have. When he fought the Korean guy over there, and I believe it might have been in Korea or it was in Asia. But that fight, he let it be a little bit closer than it needed to. But he did rise to the occasion later in the second round. But I think that he may be a little bit out of his league here with the guy in Vieira, because I think Vieira is going to be able to get this fight to the mat. I do. And I think once he gets it down there, I think he can pull off the sub, or I think he can just absolutely dominate and control Hernandez. He's coming off a nasty knockout against Holland. That's right. Lost to Marcus Perez. Marcus Perez hurt him on the feet as well before pulling off that submission. Not saying that I think Vieira is going to go in there and be hurting Anthony on the feet so much, but he can hold his own there. And keys to success for Anthony Hernandez. He has to keep this fight standing, and he has to expose Vieira striking. So is he going to be able to do that? I don't feel super confident that he is. I think Vieira is going to be all over him. The black belt hunter. I think that he's going to be in on a single leg, pushing against the fence, ripping him down, and probably another submission. I'm taking Vieira by sub there. And like I said, this guy is no joke. This guy's been on the mats, on some of the best mats in the world, winning big time stuff. And it's not something you always see, where you see a guy that's as skilled as him, that's as physically strong, and has the physique and the strength that this guy has too. So it's a cool little mix with him. It's an interesting watch too. Very, very excited for that fight, man. I'm looking forward to see what Vieira brings to the table. Minus 400. I mean, you might want to mix it in a parlay, or you think that there's that X factor that Hernandez keeps it on the feet and Vieira is not battle tested enough. That's the X factor there. If you're worried that Vieira hasn't shown enough, only 7 professional fights, but Peixoto is a guy that can fight, that can strike, and he couldn't do nothing there. But we'll get into the next fight. We got Gabe Green taking on Philip Rowe. Philip Rowe, this guy's funny. The Fresh Prince. Has the old Will Smith type of look with the flat top head and all that. This guy's an interesting dude. We saw him on Dana White's Contender Series get a nasty finish, and that was against Shabazian. Yeah, I think that was Edmund Shabazian's cousin or whatnot, or brother. Yeah, his brother, excuse me. And if you remember, Shabazian really showed up in that first round, was putting it on Rowe, outstruck him like 3-1 in that first round, and then eventually Rowe, he wore on him. I remember Rowe was in his guard, and he actually finished Shabazian there, so it looked good later in that fight. But Rowe is a guy that really doesn't have a lot of experience. Experience as well, only 9 professional fights, but the guys that he's been fighting don't have a lot of experience. You take a look at some of the records that he's fighting against. Pretty padded record. Gabe Green, on the other hand, if you guys remember, Gabe Green's coming off that loss, but against Daniel Rodriguez, hell of a fight. But if you remember, Gabe Green definitely showed that he's extremely tough. He was in there. He was landing big shots even after he was taking them time and time again. So he is susceptible to being tagged up on the feet for sure. We saw a lot of that. I think Philip Rowe will be able to jab him up and whatnot, but he's tough. He's going to keep marching forward. And I think this he's a game fighter. That was a tough outing. Daniel Rodriguez is people are starting to realize that guy is legit, even though he lost his last fight. But he's very fluid on the feet, and that was a tough fight for Gabe. I think Gabe bounces back with the victory here. I'll take a look at the line in this fight. Gabe Green, right around minus 135, so he's a slight favorite. Philip Rowe's a guy that I'm sure some people are gonna like. He looked good with that finish on the show. Big frame, 6'3", has a big reach advantage here in this fight. Gabe Green did show that he has some good footwork and head movement. He knows how to switch stances and cut the distance, off on his opponent and get close in the pocket on them. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that again here. And I think he'll be stronger too. I could see him getting a takedown or two on Philip Rowe, so that's why I'm picking Gabe Green to win that fight. But if Philip Rowe comes into the fight looking like this, then we got a problem. But luckily that ain't him. Great fight here. We got Polyana Viana taking on Mallory Martin. Polyana Viana coming off a big win where she was able to pull off the submission against Emily Whitmire, who was a girl that's competent on the ground as well. So that was an impressive armbar that she pulled off. Viana was due for a win. She needed a win. Could have been her last fight in the UFC. Obviously, she has the look and whatnot, but you got to go in there. You got to deliver. And she's aggressive on the feet too, man. I really like what she brings into the octagon. She's a tough chick. And Mallory Martin, speaking of tough chicks, the victory she pulled off in her last fight was amazing. Was it against JJ Aldrich, I believe? No, that was the other girl. Hannah Cifers. Where Hannah Cifers, if you guys remember, Hannah Cifers was beating her up in that fight. And meanwhile, Mallory Martin was a big favorite going into that bout. She got beat up bad in the first round. I think the fight almost got stopped. And, she dug deep and she came back and she ended up getting that rear naked choke. That was one of the best comebacks I've seen in quite some time. So it showed you the heart that Mallory has. And, I think that she just kind of had a slow start anyway. I think that she That's why she was able to come back as easy as she did at the end. But I think that if she would have stepped on the gas a little bit early, she could have shown up in that fight earlier. She has the skills. Training over there with Elevation Fight Team over in Colorado. Definitely has some cardio. And I like her here. I do like her. I like her to win this fight. Polyana Viana. Like I said, coming off that nice victory there, but still needs to prove a little bit more to me. And we'll see if she could do that. I did say that her striking has been looking a little bit better than I think some of you guys think. I'm not saying it's amazing or anything, but she's feisty on the feet. We've been seeing her go in there and really battle it out with some of these chicks. So see her connecting there. And so is she able to hurt Mallory in a similar way that Hannah Cyphers just did? I don't know if that's the case. And I don't think that's going to happen. That's why I think Mallory Martin's going to win this fight. The line right around minus 165, that's really not horrible. I know it is a women's mixed martial arts bout. Fight could play out closely. Mallory has the skills to win this fight, though. We saw the submission skills from her. We've seen the heart. I think on the feet she'll do good there as well. I think she'll be a little bit stronger. And I do like Mallory to win that fight there. All right, boys, we're on the main event now. We're on to the main event. And this is a hell of a fight. They actually just bumped this up to the main card. Shout out to Andre Ewell. Awesome dude. Of course, for those of you guys that remember, we had him on MMA Live Discussion. And he was one of the more interesting dudes I've had on the show, man. He was cool as hell. He was cracking me up. I think he's starting his own tequila. Oh, we got the ads going. You guys get the point. But, I think he has some type of tequila or something he's brewing, but he didn't offer to send nothing over to the teller. So I didn't get a chance to try it. Maybe I'll reach out and see if I could buy some. But, that's cool that he's doing his thing like that. A rangy fighter coming into this fight with an 8-inch reach advantage. He tends to have that reach advantage in every single one of these fights. Took out Erwin Rivera, man. Oof. I'm sure a lot of you guys, we talked about that situation. Hope everything works out for the guy. But that was a hell of a fight. Ewell was able to use his reach advantage and win that fight there. The Jonathan Martinez fight, a lot of people thought he lost, but still good performance for him to go in there and put himself in a position where he was able to steal a W. I guess you could look at it like that. But the Vera loss was tough. Chris Gutierrez is a guy, El Guapo. I've been very, very impressed with this guy. I think the calf kicks are brutal by him. I think he's going to go in there. I think he's going to work on Ewell's calves there. I think on the bottom half of his legs. And I think El Guapo is going to show up here. As much as I said, I like this guy Ewell. Nothing but respect. You know what I mean? I hope to have him on the show again. But I'm high in this guy, Gutierrez. And if you look at Gutierrez's losses, they're against solid opponents. A lot of people are starting to realize how good Raoni Barcelos is. Had the draw with Cody Durden. That was a fight he started off slow, but rose to the occasion in the later rounds. I was a little surprised that he had that 10-8 round against him in that fight. But Durden's okay. Not a bad fighter. Took out Vince Morales. Looked amazing in that fight. Finished him by leg kicks, if you remember that. Geraldo de Freitas, the tough Brazilian fighter. I like what he's bringing to the table here. 29 years old, and this is a guy that's getting it in, and I'm going to take him to win this fight. I predict him to take out Andre Ewell. As far as the line goes, minus 170 for Gutierrez with some of these early lines coming out. So, Ewell has to be an athlete in there. He has to go in and he has to have good footwork, use that reach, and maybe he can go in there and take a decision, or maybe he lands a heavy shot. But I'm on El Guapo. Kelvin Gastelum taking on Ian Heinisch. Gastelum lost 3 fights in a row. Can you guys believe that? But look at the guys he's losing to. Israel Adesanya for the belt, one of the most epic fights there, and that's ever happened for the championship in the middleweight division. Lost to Darren Till. That was a fight. I thought he won that fight. I thought it was close, at least if I remember correctly. No, I had Gastelum winning that fight, I believe. I think I was drinking while I was watching it a little bit, but Jack Hermanson went in there, snatched up the heel. Ian Heinisch, very tough customer, coming off that big knockout against Gerald Meerschaert. But that's what seems to be what everyone's up to these days. We saw what Khamzat did to him too. Still though, great performance by Ian. Ian has some good wrestling. I believe he was an LFA champion. Came to Dana White's Contender Series, really showed up. This guy, he really gets to the grind. I think this is a perfect matchup here, Gastelum and Ian Heinisch. It's a big step up. It's a big step up in competition for Ian Heinisch. It definitely is. Gastelum, people need not to forget what this guy brings to the table. The striking is nasty. Who have you seen? Who have you seen fought Israel Adesanya the way that Kelvin did in that fight? Nobody has been going in there and being able to even compete with Izzy there. And maybe Anderson Silva hung around a little bit, but Kelvin Gastelum went in there and he really showed up and really showed what his striking is about. He's smooth on the feet. I love the coaching he gets from Rafael Cordero. And I think this is a big fight for him. I think he's super motivated to get a victory here. And I am going to take him to beat Ian Heinisch. And for Ian, this is everything for him, man. He's not young. And, this is a fight. He needs to go in there. He needs to maybe mix in his wrestling, mix in a couple takedowns. He has to land some big shots. And honestly, I don't think Kelvin's going anywhere one way or another. So, if you're gonna take him out, I think it's gonna be a war. So you got to dig deep. Ian Heinisch is gonna have to dig deep, mix in the grappling, land some big strikes, and win this fight. All right. Sliding through, we have Julian Marquez taking on Maki Pitolo. A little interested how this fight bounced up this high in the card. The co-main event. It's a little interesting. Julian Marquez is a guy that brings the fight, that's for sure. And so is Maki, so maybe that's why. Julian Marquez, let's talk about that Phil Hawes knockout. A lot of you guys are starting to catch on to what Phil Hawes is about, who has a big fight coming back up. They rescheduled that bout. But Julian Marquez went in there and almost killed him. Julian Marquez, good wrestling. He's a very stout, strong guy. Knockout power. He will go in there. He will knock you out. And that's what Maki's all about too. Coconut bombs. You got to love the nickname. Coconut bombs. He does carry power in his hands. We saw him get a knockout, on the Contender Series and was able to get a contract. He's had some tough times as of recently. I did just make some money off him, if I remember correctly, and that was with Impa Kasingane, who I was high on. I still think he's a good fighter, but obviously he got brutally knocked out, and he was getting beat up bad in that fight by, name slipping my mind, the guy that had the knockout of all time, who just got knocked out again, got knocked out, and that was almost a top highlight there against Alessio De Chirico. Name slipping my mind. Actually, you know what? Watch this. The power of the internet. Let me do this real quick. Bear with me, guys. Joaquin Buckley. I don't know why, I told you why. It's a late night. It's a late night sesh. And we're breaking down tapes, so bear with me, guys. But anyway, the point I was making is, he did lose to Kasingane, who, didn't look so good in his next bout. So, you kind of analyze that right there. I think Julian Marquez has more than enough of the ability to go in there and take out Maki. I think he could use his wrestling. I think he can land a big shot. And I think he can push the pace here. He could win this fight. He's almost a 2-1 favorite. It might be a little bit high. I do think he is the better fighter here. But again, Maki looked good to me on that Contender Series like I talked about. The hands were crisp. Throws a nice hook. Has decent boxing. Needs to continue to clean up the entire game. Doesn't have a major reach advantage. He has an 1.5-inch reach advantage here. I think this is Marquez's fight to win. And Marquez needs to start being more active. He hasn't fought in 2 years and 7 months, which is crazy. Almost 2.5 years. I don't know what his deal is, why he's not as active as he needs to be. But I do know that when you watch the tape on him, this guy shows up. This guy is a performer. And this guy can go out there and really put you out. So I'm going to take Julian Marquez here. I think he's a little bit more well-rounded, too, with the wrestling. That's going to bring us to the co-main event. Super excited for this bout here. Maycee Barber taking on Alexa Grasso. Two pretty big women's mixed martial artists in the game. They have big names. Maycee Barber, only 22 years old. So, Alexa Grasso at 27, she's coming into this fight, as the older chick here, man. Almost what, 5 years. Barber is still a baby. She's coming off a very tough loss to Roxanne Modafferi. I know she did injure her leg. You got to wonder how that all healed up and how her confidence will be in the grappling exchanges is if she tries to bring it there. I do think Alexa Grasso will try to keep this more standing, where Grasso's boxing is really good. She loves to use her footwork. I don't think that she would have a problem with that if Maycee wants to stand up with her. So I think it's more Barber's choice if she's going to try to get this to the mat or whatnot, where we've seen her really implement some nasty ground and pound. Barber has good power on the feet as well. We've seen her go in there and get really beat up by some of these girls, and then come back, like in J.J. Aldrich's case, got beat up, and then she came back, got some nasty elbows late in that fight, got the finish there. The Gillian Robertson fight, she looked good there. But, I did not like the way she looked against Roxanne. Even before the injury, something was a little off in that fight, if you ask me. And again, like I said, J.J. Aldrich really put it on her in that fight too, before she got the finish. I definitely think Alexa Grasso can definitely put it on Barber with the boxing and the striking in this fight. That's definitely the case there, which is kind of the reason why I'm going to take Grasso here. I think Grasso will also be able to keep this fight standing. I think her takedown defense has been worked on. We saw her in there with, Carla Esparza, an ex-champion, the inaugural champion who has excellent wrestling. We saw Grasso, take that L there. It was a very close fight, but, that was all a learning experience for her. I think now she's fighting a 22-year-old, and she should be able to use some of those skills that she's learned inside the octagon, which there's no better place to get experience than in the octagon. Yes, the training is good and whatnot, but Grasso's been racking up fights. She has more professional, more UFC experience, more professional experience, and I'm taking Grasso to win this fight here. She's coming in with a 1-inch reach advantage. Doesn't really matter. I think Barber needs to hit her with the big shot and hurt her. Otherwise, I see Grasso cruising to a decision here. I'm telling you guys, I really think Grasso is very talented, and I like her boxing. I like her leg kicks. She had a couple things in her game that she needed to clean up. And I'm not saying that it's official that she has cleaned them up. But I do think she's on that path, and I think she can get a victory here. And Maycee Barber, remember her calling out shots on Dana White's Contender Series, and calling out shots, calling people out. So I got Grasso though, and the winner of this fight, man. This is a big win for them as they cruise through the division. All right, we got the main event. The welterweight championship is on the line. Kamaru Usman taking on Gilbert Burns. Talked about it a little bit earlier in the show when we started things off. Gilbert Burns has been going on an absolute tear over the last year. He's a guy that really, really took advantage of this whole COVID situation, rose to the occasion, and earned himself a title shot, taking out guys like Woodley, which, if you do ask me at this point, I think that Woodley is not the same fighter. I was able to start picking against Woodley early on, even, as it was starting to happen. But at this point, I really got to say the stock of that victory is not as good as what some people do think, or what it seems like. But the win against Maia was nice. He was able to showcase the striking. Obviously, Maia's not a striker, but still, to go in there, do what he did like that. The Gunnar Nelson win was a very big win for him there. Alexei Kunchenko, very tough fighter. Don't forget about that Russian guy, very tough fighter. I think Gilbert Burns did. He took that fight on short notice as well. Kunchenko might have been undefeated up until that point as well. Mike Davis, you see what he's doing in there right now. We had him on the show. That guy's a stud. Gilbert Burns went in there and outclassed him. So, Gilbert Burns went from this guy who, if you remember, was known to be Vitor Belfort's disciple. You guys remember this. This was like a guy that was working with Vitor back in the day down here in South Florida. He had a big fight against Charles Oliveira right towards the beginning of his UFC career, was getting beat up in that fight, and came back and pulled off an armbar. So you were able to see, some of the jiu-jitsu skills that he brings to the table, which the skills that he brings to the table down there are not to be played with. This guy is, this guy can roll in the mats with all the top BJJ guys in the world, and he could do his thing out there as we see him do. And the striking's been coming around. He's nasty on the feet. He's quick in there. And this is an amazing fight because, is that Kamaru? There you go. That's the fight right there, huh? These guys train together, so it's such an intriguing matchup here. Being the fact that these guys train together, I know how that feels. I've been in jiu-jitsu tournaments where I've had to compete against my teammate in order to try to win, a trophy or whatnot, win first or win second. And I've been in that situation, and I'll tell you right now, it's strange in a way because I don't know. This is how I look at it. You would think, you're on the mat rolling together all the time. Say you dominate that kid all the time, or he dominates you, vice versa. You would think when you're on the mat and the lights are shining that it would be the same thing, but it's really not. It's weird. It's like a whole different type of thing. The intensity, it rises, and it's a different feel. So it's pretty cool being able to see that. I had a kid that I said dominate on the mats, and then I was in a match against him to actually place third in this whole little day they had. And, he actually, I still beat him, but he had a great showing. He really did. Scored a lot of points on me with certain transitions and whatnot, and he was really tough. I got him in a move that sometimes I would tap him out all the time in, and normally he probably would have tapped, but this was a little bit different. He wasn't willing to tap, and actually I had him in a can opener. That was my move back in the day. Sit in someone's guard and crank the can opener. I know you don't really see that in the UFC, but it does work. Trust me, that move definitely works. And I used to tap a lot of dudes out to that. And I was cranking on that thing. He survived it. But anyways, I'm rambling. But you guys catch my drift, man. It's just understand the fact that these guys train together so much. It definitely makes this fight interesting. I'm telling you guys. These guys have a little bit of insight or a lot of insight into what skills they bring into each other. These guys have sweat in the mat together a lot of times. Kamaru Usman, the best welterweight fighter in the world, hands down. Took out Colby Covington in that fight. You guys know how high I am on Colby. Love him or hate him, the guy is very talented. I thought that fight was even going into the fifth. I thought Colby was edging the beginning of that round, but Usman showed up. Whether or not you think it was a bad stoppage, Colby was hurt in that fight, and Usman rose to the occasion. This guy's striking has elevated so much. He was initially a wrestler, as you see Marty Boy right there. This guy is a guy that's striking has came around, and it's hard to bet against him, man. I'll tell you that much. This guy shows up and he wins and he wins. He's undefeated. He's 17-1. He's not undefeated. Why was I thinking he's undefeated? Undefeated in the UFC. That's right. He did lose back in the day. I don't remember who he lost to. Jose Caceres. Yeah, got rear naked choked way back in the day, but undefeated in the UFC, and he's taken out some big guys too, man. Leon Edwards, Yokolov's a tough customer. Sean Strickland, you see what he's doing. Damian Maia, RDA, Woodley, we talked about that. Covington was a big win. Masvidal, big win. And now he has Burns in front of him. Now, I'm going to let you guys know right now how I feel about this. I think the value here is on Dorino. I really do. You can get great odds on him. I think this fight can go any way. I think Gilbert Burns has shown that he's as good as it gets. He's strong. I know he wasn't initially a wrestler, but this guy trains his wrestling like crazy. He'll be able to hang in there with the grappling exchanges with Usman. And remember, he has the jiu-jitsu background too, so that's going to balance itself out a little bit. Of course, if they get sweaty, they get tired, Usman will be the guy probably on top. You got to watch that for a decision. But the value is on Gilbert Burns, in my opinion. And don't be surprised if Gilbert looks better on the feet here. I really have liked what I've seen from him with the striking. And that's why I'm going to pick Dorino, Gilbert Burns to win the main event and be the new welterweight champion here. But Kamaru Usman, an absolute stud. And he's going to show up to fight. So this fight can go anyway. But the value. All right, guys. That's going to wrap everything up. Like I was talking about, I think I told a lot of you guys too, I'm bringing MMA Live discussion over to Instagram. It'll probably be this Thursday. We'll see how it goes. But I'm going to start doing interviews on Instagram Live over there, MMA Live discussion. So if you guys want to watch those, make sure you're following me at MMA Fortune Teller _ and you'll see those live videos whenever I do them. I'll give you guys heads up. I'm going to promote them. When I'm done, I'll still upload them to YouTube. So I'll have those here. I'll mess with them. I'll fix them up. I'll bring them on here too. And I got a lot of fighters that I'm working with right now to start getting on the show. And you guys will definitely like them. All right, guys. If you guys are interested in my plays, you guys know the deal. Reach out to me on Instagram. My email is mmafortuneteller@gmail.com. Reach out to me. I got the sports betting weekly packages going as well. Shout out to everyone that's working with me over there, and I appreciate all you guys as always. You guys know that. All right. Hope this video was good for you. Hope it'll help you out, give you some insight on these fights, and I will try to get these time stamped as quick as I could. And I'll have this uploaded here in a minute. All right, guys. Signing out. The Teller.
The MMA Fortune Teller.
The Teller. The Teller. The Teller. The Teller. The Teller.